talk about George Floyd. Yesterday, an unarmed African American male was killed by a Minnesota police officer who apparently had his knee on this man's neck for over 7 minutes. So let's get to it. The reality is this: George Floyd, based on all of the accounts that have come out so far, was drunk. George Floyd resisted arrest based on all of the accounts that came out. George Floyd probably has done other things in his life that are not desirable. But just like I asked in the case of Ahmaud Arbery, I'll ask in this case: does that need to result in a death penalty? And we can talk all day about police brutality against all races, but for whatever reason, this same old song keeps playing out again and again. When you have the Black Panthers in the 60s and 70s who have to create a task force to monitor traffic stops by cops on African Americans, when you have Dr. Martin Luther King speak about the violence against African Americans, when you have Malcolm X speak about the violence, and I can go on and on and on, at some point, this broken record gets old. So again, for all of you out there who are saying lesson learned, don't resist arrest, I ask you this: if you have a child and you go to discipline your child, or you go to grab your child and your child pulls away from you and run, do you have the right to beat the hell out of your child? Or are you going to make sure you take the proper steps? What's happening now is a blatant overreaction by certain individuals in this society, and it's just old, and something needs to be done about it. I see people respond to these athletes and celebrities who are using this latest example as the reason why Colin Kaepernick knelt. And I see the reaction as, oh, they're celebrities, what do they have to worry about? They're millionaires, what do they have to worry about? Well, you know what? It's about time that everyone in society gets involved. Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, everyone needs to get involved in this, because change will never happen if everyone does not get involved. And you can say it's not racist, but there's something going on that just have these people, these police officers, believe that every single black male is a threat. And that is unfortunate. I remember reading a story about a young man who was on the swimming team in college, and his swimming team was on their way home from a swimming meet. He was the only African-American young man on this swim team. They were surrounded by cops, and the cops identified him as a suspect, and they brutalized this young man to the point where it caused him anxiety and mental damage. Why does this keep happening? Why do we keep making excuses for it? I don't understand the rationalization saying he was drunk, he was belligerent, he wasn't a good person. And I'm sure there are going to be stories to come out to really discredit this man. Okay, we know that. But again, do you have a drunk relative? Do they deserve death? And until everyone decides to jump in this boat together and fix these problems of injustice, we're never going to make the progress that we should make. You talk about Black Lives Matter, and people attack Black Lives, and they say Black Lives Matter is a racist organization and all of those things. Well, these are examples of what they mean when they say Black Lives Matter. Because apparently the life of that African American man was not worth it. How long do you have to hold your knee on a person's neck until you realize that they have submitted? You have won. For that officer, I would ask, has he ever been in a fight? Has he ever been in a physical altercation in his life? Because if so, then he should have more murders. Because if you have a man handcuffed and you don't understand that you have already won the battle, then why have you not killed before? What makes this different? So for all of you all giving excuses, we know when a person has submitted. You know when a person has submitted. But there's something deep down in the fiber of these people's souls that just wants them to keep being extremely aggressive towards us. Now, on the other hand, I've seen some comments that says the only way we're going to solve this is through street justice. You're wrong about that. Because as soon as you decide to go with street justice, it's a battle you're not going to win. And you can research Dr. Martin Luther King, and he understood that street justice was just a battle that we will not win. We have to figure something out, and I don't know if I have the answer, but this definitely has to stop. And I don't believe it'll stop until all racists acknowledge how brutal these conditions are, how brutal these things are. And I don't want to hear, oh, he was this or he was that. Again, that does not mean that man deserved a death sentence. It does not mean that. So for the officers who stood around and did not help that young man, shame on you. And from what I hear, 4 were fired, and you deserve to be fired. You deserve to never work again. I'm just tired of being in a society where you have to calm down, or you have to try to assimilate to every single thing. You almost have to apologize for being black. When you're in your place of employment, you don't want to seem too pro-black. You have to do, quote unquote, play the game. And when you don't play the game, you make people uncomfortable, and therefore they get rid of you. I'm tired of being in a society where a proud African-American person cannot be comfortable in their place of employment because they have not bowed down to the status quo. Things have to change, America. So over the next few days, I know there are going to be other stories coming out, but if you do not think that this is one of the most inhumane acts that a human can do, again, I say shame on you. You have a lot to learn, and you have a long way to go. Those are my words, and like it, don't like it, I don't really care. I make this channel to just try to do my part for my little corner of the world and to raise awareness about different issues. And this is something that has really bothered me for the entire day since hearing about this. And I like to look at things on both sides of the fence. But this one here, this is bad. So again, like it, don't like it, but that's my piece. Take care.